I fear the future not because it is unknown, but because it exposes how little control I actually have. Fear of the future is something I rarely admit openly, yet it quietly follows me through my days. It appears in small worries, sudden tension, restless thoughts, and moments when I imagine everything that could go wrong. I often think I'm afraid of the unknown itself, but when I look deeper, I realize that my fear comes from something more personal, the feeling that I cannot fully control what will happen, and that the future might reveal weaknesses I try to hide. When I think about tomorrow, I often imagine possibilities that make me uneasy. What if I fail? What if I lose something important? What if I make the wrong decision? What if life changes in a way I'm not ready for? These questions don't come from logic. They come from vulnerability. They come from the part of me that wants stability, predictability, and reassurance. And when life doesn't offer those things, fear begins to grow. I fear the future because I often measure it through the lens of my past. If I've experienced disappointment, I expect more disappointment. If I've been hurt, I expect more pain. If I've failed, I expect more failure. My memory becomes a filter that shapes how I imagine what comes next. And instead of seeing the future as a space of possibility, I see it as a continuation of my fears. Another reason I fear the future is the pressure I place on myself. I want to make the right choices, follow the right path, achieve the right goals. I want to avoid mistakes, avoid regret, avoid anything that might make me look weak or unprepared. This pressure creates tension, and tension creates fear. I begin to believe that one wrong step could ruin everything, and that the future is a test I might fail. Fear also grows when I compare myself with others. I see people who seem confident, successful, stable, or secure. I see people who appear to know where they're going. And when I compare myself with them, I feel behind. I feel uncertain. I feel like I'm not enough. This comparison makes the future look like a race I'm not sure I can win. But the deepest fear comes from the illusion of control. I want to control outcomes, circumstances, and events. I want to control how people see me, how life unfolds, and how challenges appear. But the future is not something I can control. It is something I can only enter. And when I try to control what cannot be controlled, fear becomes inevitable. Fear of the future also comes from expectations. I expect life to follow a certain path. I expect people to behave in certain ways. I expect myself to achieve certain things. And when reality doesn't match these expectations, I feel anxious. I feel threatened. I feel like the future is slipping away from the image I created in my mind. But fear doesn't only come from negative expectations. It also comes from positive ones. When I hope for something deeply, I fear losing it. When I dream about something meaningful, I fear it won't happen. When I desire something strongly, I fear disappointment. The more I care, the more I fear. And this fear can make the future feel fragile. Yet when I look honestly at myself, I see that fear of the future is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of humanity. It shows that I care about my life, my choices, my relationships, and my path. It shows that I want to live meaningfully. It shows that I want to protect what matters. Fear is not the enemy. It is a signal. The question is not how to eliminate fear, but how to understand it. When I slow down and listen to my fear, I begin to see what it is trying to tell me. Sometimes it tells me that I'm carrying too much pressure. Sometimes it tells me that I'm expecting too much from myself. Sometimes it tells me that I'm trying to control things that are not mine to control. Sometimes it tells me that I'm afraid of repeating old mistakes. And sometimes it tells me that I'm not trusting life enough to guide me forward. The future becomes less frightening when I stop trying to predict it and start preparing my heart for it. I cannot know what will happen, but I can strengthen myself. I can cultivate patience, humility, gratitude, and courage. I can learn to accept uncertainty instead of fighting it. I can learn to trust that I will be able to face whatever comes, even if I don't feel ready now. Fear also softens when I stop comparing myself with others. Their path is not my path. Their pace is not my pace. Their challenges are not my challenges. The future becomes gentler when I allow myself to grow without competition, and fear becomes lighter when I stop expecting perfection. The future will not be perfect. It will contain mistakes, surprises, changes, and moments I didn't plan. But it will also contain opportunities, lessons, and unexpected gifts. When I accept this, fear loses its power. The future is not an enemy. It is simply the next chapter of my life, a chapter I haven't read yet. And while I may fear it, I can also walk toward it with honesty, humility, and trust. Fear of the future doesn't have to control me. It can guide me toward deeper awareness, deeper strength, and deeper peace. And when I face it with sincerity, I begin to see that the future is not something to fear. It is something to grow into.